once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers all over the world, more particularly to all shepherds, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Good evening, and may the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This is our episode number 3 on the subject, the beast and its image. Now, I would like to remind again that according to the story of redemption, the focal point of the message brought by the third angel is concerning the sanctuary doctrine, or Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary, and also concerning the beast revelation. Or in other words, God is trying to portray how Satan tried to the utmost of his ability to deceive human being. And as Satan knoweth that the plan of redemption is revealed through the sanctuary construction and service, according to SR 187, it says, in the sanctuary construction and service is revealed the plan of salvation. So, in this study, first of all, we would like to prove concretely that according to 2TG, number 30, page 15, that Satan is not particular, whatever we believe, so long as he can keep us ignorant of revealed truth, according to 2TG 30, page 15, saying, let us once and forever realize that the devil is more shrewd than we can imagine. He is not particular what you believe, so long as he can keep you ignorant of revealed truth. And this revealed truth is concerning the sanctuary doctrine. Here in White House Recruiter, on page 31 and page 32, let us not, however, forget that there is an enemy who is determined to keep God's people in darkness, in ignorance of timely truth. And what more damaging darkness could he seek to keep them in than in ignorance of that which God would have them to know? While their judgment is pending, while they are being weighed in the balances of the sanctuary, none, absolutely none. So, that is the determined effort of the devil, so long that he can keep you ignorant concerning what is going on in the heavenly sanctuary. He is not bothered whatever you believe, brothers and sisters. And to repeat again, here in 2SR, on page 2SR page 92, it says, "It is true that the people like to be deceived, flattering themselves that they are on the way to heaven, while Satan winks at their ignorance." The only way to heaven is found in the sanctuary. David says in Psalms 77, verse 13, saying, "Thy way, O Lord, is in the sanctuary." Thy way, O God, is in the sanctuary. So the only way that we could rest assured that we are going to heaven is to have a definite understanding concerning the sanctuary doctrine. And here in Story of Redemption, page 381, it says, "Those who had accepted the light concerning the mediation of Christ and the perpetuity of the law of God found that these were the truths brought to view in the third message." So, the focal point of the message of the third angel is pertaining to Christ's mediation in the heavenly sanctuary. We already read in volume 5, 206 and 207, saying that the third angel is the last message. This is the last message. There's no more message to follow. After this message shall have done its work. And concerning the third angel, divided into two phases, it is the judgment that pertains to the living, which is called the final phase of the third angel. Here in General Conference Special, page 39 and page 40, it says, "So we see that the more we consider the subject, the more obvious becomes the truth that the third angel's message in its final phase is the judgment for the living, the harvest. Plainly then, the work of Elijah is to give light on the judgment for the living." General Conference Special on page 40. So the final phase of the third angel is concerning the judgment for the living. So this reading in the Great Controversy 449 must be definitely applied in the judgment for the living rather than in the judgment that pertains to the dead. Now let's read the Great Controversy 449, saying, "The most fearful, threatening, ever addressed to mortals is contained in the third angel's message. That must be a terrible sin, which calls down the wrath of God unmingled with mercy. Men are not to be left in darkness concerning this important matter. The warning against this sin is to be given to the world before the visitation of God's judgments, that all may know why they are to be inflicted and have opportunity to escape them." Or in other words, the warning message of the third angel must be proclaimed to the time when there are still opportunity to escape God's vengeance. And it says, prophecy declares that the first angel would make his announcement to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. The warning of the third angel, which forms a part of the same threefold message, is to be no less widespread. It is represented in the prophecy as being proclaimed with a loud voice by an angel flying in the midst of heaven, and it will command the attention of the world. The Great Controversy, page 449. And for sure that is pointing to the last generation of men. And that's why I remember that statement that the reason why Jesus Christ compared the last generation of men as in the days of Noah, because that is also the last generation before the flood. And here in Patriarchs and Prophets, I remember that occurrence. It says on page 96, the threatenings of God, they said, are for the purpose of intimidating and will never be verified. I'm reading Patriarchs and Prophets, page 96. It says, the threatenings of God, they said, are for the purpose of intimidating and will never be verified. You need not be alarmed. Such an event as the destruction of the world by the God who made it and the punishment of the beings He has created will never take place. Be at peace. Fear not. Noah is a wild fanatic. The world made merry at the folly of the deluded old men. Instead of humbling their heart before God, they continued their disobedience and wickedness, the same as though God had not spoken to them through His servant. So, that is the occurrence in the days of Noah, brothers and sisters. And they were saying that the threatening of God's word is only a message to intimidate the people, and according to them, it will never be verified. Now, I would like to read this testimony on Testimonies for the Church on volume 9 on page 28. And let us read the statement here. Volume 9, page 28. An impressive scene. In the visions of the night, a very impressive scene passed before me. I saw an immense ball of fire fall among some beautiful mansions, causing their instant destruction. I heard someone say, we knew that the judgments of God were coming upon the earth, but we did not know that they would come so soon. Others with agonized voices said, you knew. Why then did you not tell us? We did not know. On every side, I heard similar words of reproach spoken. Volume 9, page 28. So in this vision, in this testimony, we can immediately discern that these people, they have knowledge concerning the judgments of God. They knew that there are judgments of God that will fall upon the earth. But the only thing that they have no knowledge is that when, and they did not even know that the judgments of God will come soon, very soon, brothers and sisters. And they had been surprised when the judgments are falling upon the earth. Now, here in 2SR 185, it reminds me the statement in 2SR on page 94, saying, as there is no time left for calling out a new movement, to SR page 94, it says, as there is no time left for calling out a new movement, then a message of amazing light and stern rebuke through the Word of God with manifestations of divine judgments is the only remedy that can bring true conversion and reformation. So, the only medium that God employed to bring through conversion and reformation, first, a message with amazing light, and second, a message with stern rebuke through the written Word of God, and the third one is with manifestations of divine judgments. But for sure, brothers and sisters, the righteous will not wait until God's judgment will be manifested before they will believe the message. Because if we will wait the manifestation of divine judgments, I think that is already too late to acknowledge that the message cometh from God. Now here in 2SR page, let's read, 2SR page 185, at the beginning of the judgments of God, they saw their mistake and rushed for the ark of safety, but it was beyond their reach, for they knew nothing of the message, and by the time they acquired it, filled their lamps with oil. There had been a delay. The angel had passed through the city, through Jerusalem, the church, the ceiling was finished, and probation for the church had closed. The door was shut. And to us are page 185, page 186. Now let us go back to our main subject concerning the beast and its image. The focal point of such revelation that was given by God to Daniel and to John the Revelator is to expose how the devil cunningly and mysteriously been able to trodden underfoot concerning the daily and the sanctuary. The mere fact that our Almighty God chose this medium, the beast revelation or the symbolization of the beast, through the symbolization of the beast, shows that if God will use another medium rather than the revelation concerning the beast, Satan might be able to detect it, or Satan, brothers and sisters, will be able to hide his deception other than the one that God has revealed. So here in 2SR on page 10, saying, while the enemy has succeeded in confusing the written word or the written word of God, God lightens the earth with His glory by these symbolic revelations, and by which He discloses the entire truth and uncovers the traps of the devil. So, the entire beast revelation, it completely uncovers the traps of the devil, or unmasks all the deception of Satan. And that is the reason why God placed this revelation under the message of the third angel, being the last message, and pointing to the last generation of men, by which accordingly in 1SR 214, the intention of such complete satanic scheme, it says here in 1 SR 214, the intention of the complete satanic scheme is to deceive the whole world. The statement made by Christ is true, that he, meaning Satan, will try to deceive even the very elect, which is the 144,000, if it were possible. The spirit of prophecy, speaking on this scripture, says, this demon worship was revealed to him, to John the Revelator, and it seemed to him as if the whole world were standing on the brink of perdition. But as he looked with intense interest, he beheld the company of God's commandment-keeping people, volume 6, page 15. So in this reading, we can immediately discern that terrible sin mentioned in the Great Controversy 449, which calls down the wrath of God unmingled with mercy, is called by inspiration as a demon worship. The statement demon worship cannot be construed that such worship is a horrible. No, brothers and sisters, Satan does not work in that way, because how could he be able to deceive even the very elect, the 144,000, if that is the way he employ his deception? And I remember the statement in 2SR 105. It says, Satan knows how to deceive so that it cannot be easily detected. He studies the inclination of the people, and the thing which appeals most, he sets as a trap, because the generation is trusting in human intellect and are willing that others should think for them. The devil will present to this class the most dazzling personality the world has ever looked upon, say the apostle. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. So in this reading, we can immediately discern that as far as possible, Satan hide his deception in the garb, lightness, or in the garb of the light of heaven. He transformed himself into an angel of light. And the shepherd's rod says that it cannot be easily detected, but through the chosen medium employed by God, it is the beast revelation. In this symbolization, according to our reading in 2SR page 10, completely uncovers the traps of the devil. And accordingly, written words can be misconstrued, but symbols cannot. It says here in 2SR page 288, written words can be misconstrued, but symbols cannot, thus making it possible for both learned and unlearned to immediately distinguish the difference between truth and error. In 1 SR 124, it says, the picture tells the story, and symbols do not lie. And we need to follow the admonition in 2 SR 194, saying, unless the meaning of every symbol is fittingly explained so that it cannot be contradicted, and a present truth lesson with special significance derived The interpretation cannot be dependable and there can be no truth in it. God does not make vain repetitions, neither would He waste the time of His servants to write them. Therefore, every little symbol has its meaning and reveals a great truth. So every little symbol has its meaning and reveals a great truth. Now let us apply the divine principle recorded in 2SR page 88, saying, where systems and governments do not all exist at the same time, the symbols show their consecutive order. Another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by its beast. And not one of them refers to anything in the past, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. Therefore, heads or horns have no reference to anything before or after the period represented by the beast. It is also unnatural for heads, members of the beast, to exist before or after the beast himself. Therefore, it would be inconsistent to conclude that the horns, as well as the heads, could denote a consecutive order of system, so long as they all appear at the time of the closing act of the beast. The leopard-like beast in his wounded state must be intended to prophetically point out the existing condition with the present civilization. Now, before elaborating the two paragraphs, I would like to say that the beast revelation cometh from God, and it was revealed by God to John in the island of Patmos. The intention of God is to uncover the traps of the devil. But the devil, he tried at the utmost of his ability to hide, to cancel to the eyes of human being that if possible, his deception can never be detected. But our Almighty God revealed to John in the island of Patmos the beast revelation to expose how the devil deceived the whole world. But the mere fact that the book of Revelation, as well as the book of Daniel, the understanding concerning that book was not given to them living in a time prior to the time of the end, according to 2TG number 7, page 3. It says that the understanding, and also to 2SR page 111. So, in that instance, we can immediately discern that the focal point of the beast revelation, brothers and sisters, is pointing to the last generation of men. And the mere fact that, according to 1SR 214, that the intention of Satan of such complete satanic scheme had been employed, the intention is to deceive the 144,000 living saints. Or, in other words, since the devil knoweth that the last ordained ministry, the 11th hour, will be his Waterloo, he tried to the utmost of his ability that if possible, such ministry would not exist. Here in White House Recruiter, page 25, it says, Satan grimly knows this. He knows his time is short and growing fearfully shorter. He knows that this faithful ministry are soon to be disclosed to view. And for sure, the faithful ministry mentioned here is the last ordained ministry. Because that is the remaining hope of the world. For all others before it was already defeated by the devil. And the last remaining hope for a perishing world is the last ordained ministry. And Satan tried to the utmost of his ability that if possible, this faithful ministry would not exist. He says he knows that this faithful ministry are soon to be disclosed to you, and to take the field against him. He knows that that will be his Waterloo. Hence, his supreme effort now is to eliminate them. Finding out at last, though, that he cannot do so, his consequent aim will be to bring the time of trouble such as never was, in hope of destroying all. Of course, that statement, finding out at last, that is after the last ordained ministry came on the stage of action. But before that time, he will employ all kinds of deception so that the living saints will be under his deception. And it is called by inspiration as complete satanic scheme in 1 SR 214. So that is the reason why we are trying to obey the intention of God, the desire of God, that through this beast revelation, the only medium that will uncover completely the traps of the devil. So we need to study closely the beast revelation, brothers and sisters, in the light of the Shepherd's Rod publications, as well as with the writings of Sister White and the writings of Alonzo Jones. Now, I would like to repeat again the statement in 2SR page 88, by which the Shepherd's Rod plainly told us, I would like to read again, saying, another factor, 2SR page 88, another factor to be noted, that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by each beast. Now, whatever symbol, brothers and sisters, for example, at this time we will focus concerning the leopard-like beast. So whatever the symbolization of the leopard-like beast, according to this reading, it must transpire within the period represented by the leopard-like beast. And it says, and not one of them refers anything in the past. So, when it pertains to the focal point of the leopard-like beast, the symbolization of the leopard-like beast must point each symbol to the period represented by the leopard-like beast itself, and nothing refer in the time of the past. And it says, according to the reading, save, meaning except the hereditary ancestral characteristics. So let us distinctly separate the groundwork and the focal point, or the particular object in view. Now, for example, here in 2SR page 2SR page 112, I would like to read the statement. Since the scarlet-colored is the last in the symbolical procession of beasts, he must possess all the characteristics of his ancestors, the 10 horns of the nondescript beast, the 7 heads of the leopard-like, and his own unharmed heads, show that he comes on the stage of action after the deadly wound was healed. His scarlet color denotes curse, as it does on the dragon, which is the devil, in Revelation 12, verse 3. And the words go into perdition, according to Revelation 17, verse 11, reveal that he is to bring this world to an end by a curse that will result in entire ruin, utter destruction, future misery, or eternal death, according to the Standard Dictionary. Now, I would like to focus, brothers and sisters, to the statement that the same with the statement in 2SR page 88, saying, save the ancestral characteristics of the beast. So let us distinctly separate the things by which the beast inherits, and which is the groundwork, and the particular object in view pertaining to the beast. For example, by saying the scarlet-colored beast, he possessed the 7 heads of the leopard-like. And then it says, and his own unharmed heads. So let us distinctly separate the period of time by which he possessed the 7 heads of the leopard-like. So, in that period of time, the one that had been portrayed is the 7 heads of the leopard-like by which he inherits, he possesses. And let us distinctly separate his own 7 unharmed heads. Now, the same with the leopard-like beast. Brothers and sisters, let us distinctly separate the groundwork and the particular object in view. Now, this is the question. What is represented by the leopard-like beast? One of the messages of the third angel, saying, in the Great Controversy 438, declared clearly, it says here, a correct interpretation of the symbols employed is necessary to an understanding of this message. What message? The message of the third angel. What is represented by the beast? What is represented by the image? And what is represented by the mark? Now let us focus first to the first question. What is represented by the beast? Therefore, generally, the message of the third angel is pointing to the entire procession of the beast. But it is even more focusing to the last 3 beasts, brothers and sisters, by which it is the representation of the entire period of the New Testament. Now, I would like to read that reading in 2SR page 85 and page 86. It says, as the same number of horns appear on each succeeding beast, namely the nondescript, Daniel 7 verse 7, the leopard-like, Revelation 13 verse 1, in the scarlet-colored, Revelation 17, verse 3, representing the entire New Testament era. It is evident by the facts gathered that the number of horns are intended to denote universal. As they are absent from the beast of Revelation 13, verse 11 to 18, it verifies the fact that the two-horned beast denotes a local system. Therefore, it is unquestionably clear that the fixed number of horns, 10, are designed to universally symbolize the peoples and governments. 2SR, page 85 and page 86. Now, in that reading, the shepherd's rod made it so plain, brothers and sisters, that accordingly, the last three beasts having 10 horns, which is the nondescript beast, the leopard-like, and the scarlet-colored beast, represents the period of the entire New Testament era, according to the reading, to SR page 85 and page 86. But it can be simply understood that the last three beasts, the nondescript beast, the leopard-like beast, and the scarlet-colored beast, is a revelation cometh from God to uncover the traps of the devil, his deception that he employed in the entire New Testament era. Because that is the only reason why God revealed the beast revelation to John the Revelator, is pointing to the nations that had been involved, or the nations that had been or became instrument of the devil, Satan, to destroy God's people, to destroy the church, brothers and sisters. Now, I would like to raise again the question that why is it that the first three beasts in Daniel 7, the lion, the bear, and the four-headed leopard, in spite of the fact that these first three beasts are universal empires, if the intention of God is to reveal that kingdom, that empire, being universal, if the intention of God is placing 10 horns to signify that such empire is a universal empire, why is it that God did not place 10 horns to the lion, to the bear, and the four-headed leopard? There must be an accurate significance. So the intention of God is not to reveal that such empire are universal empire. Because if that is the case, then it would necessarily, God would place 10 horns to the lion, the bear, and the four-headed leopard. But the absolute fact is that, first of all, the absolute reason why God places 10 horns only to the nondescript, to the leopard-like and scarlet-colored, because this statement in 2SR page 86, I would like to read again, saying, it is evident by the facts gathered that the number of horns are intended to denote universal. So if the intention is to denote that such empire is a universal empire, then it would be necessarily God would place 10 horns to the lion, the bear, and the four-headed leopard, because that first three beasts in the book of Daniel are universal empires. According to SR page 118, I would like to read this statement. As it has reference to the entire world history underseen, we must consider the number of universal empires or periods since the world began. There is one before the flood, as previously explained. The second is Babylon, that is represented by lion. The third, Medo-Persia, represented by bear. And the fourth, Grecia, represented by the four-headed leopard. So the first three beasts, they are universal empires, but in spite of the fact that they are universal empires, God did not place 10 horns to the first three beasts. So the statement here in 2SR page 86 saying, it is evident by the facts gathered that the number of horns are intended to denote universal, and saying, therefore it is unquestionably clear that the fixed number of horns are designed to universally symbolize the peoples and governments. Now, this statement, brothers and sisters, can only be understood that the intention of God, why God places 10 horns to the nondescript beast, and then the leopard-like beast, and the scarlet-colored beast, representing the entire New Testament era, in reality, is to portray that in that period of time, God's people are in universal, brothers and sisters. Unlike on the first three beasts, God's people is located only in one location, and that is the nation of Israel. And that's why here in track number 5, I would like to read that reading. Here in track number 5, it says here, on page 55, it says, correspondingly, the symbolism shows that the religious system of ancient Israel was the only spiritual light in all the ancient world, and Israel itself the only church recognized by the author of the scriptures. Track number 5, page 55. So, in the Old Testament time, there is only one nation by which God's church is located, and that is the nation of Israel. So the intention of God placing 10 horns on the nondescript, on the leopard-like, and the scarlet-colored, in reality is to portray God's people in that period of time are universal, brothers and sisters. And it is to reveal or portray the true condition of the churches. The churches mentioned there must be pointing to God's churches by which later on it was defeated by the devil. So here in 2SR page 112, I would like to read again the statement. Therefore, if this beast, it says, therefore, if this beast represents our world at the present time, would it not be unwise on the part of God if He should have neglected to foresee the present day multiplicity of sects and the great confusion among Christendom if the symbols by this beast, the scarlet-colored beast, fail to reveal the true condition of the churches. As the nondescript beast tells the fall of the church in the period he represents, so must the scarlet-colored. In fact, this is the principal reason why these prophetic beasts are presented. 2SR page 112. You see, brothers and sisters, what is the principal reason why God showed the vision to John concerning the beast revelation? There are two main principal reasons. The first one is to reveal the true condition of the churches. And second, to tell the fall of the church. The first one is inscribed in plural form, to reveal the true condition of the churches. The second reason is inscribed in singular form, to tell the fall of the church. Now, think it thoroughly, brothers and sisters. Would you think God revealed the beast revelation to John in the island of Patmos to reveal the true condition of the pagan churches? God would not waste His time, brothers and sisters, to reveal the true condition of the pagan churches, because at the moment such churches did exist, the true condition is that they are of the devil. So the divine principle in 2SR page 69, I would like to read this statement. It says, "The dragon with his 7 heads and 10 horns, with the crowns on the heads, appeared at the birth of Christ as previously explained, and occupies the period parallel with the nondescript beast. The heads are represented by the biblical number 7, meaning completeness, and embrace every religious system in the days of Christ. As the dragon represents the devil who controls the heads, the symbol unmistakably denotes a complete apostasy. It is not intended to reveal that the pagan system of worship was headed by the devil, for it has never been otherwise. It was the Jewish church that had apostatized, and that is what made the biblical number 7 heads." 2SR page 69. You see, brothers and sisters, no, the intention of God is not to reveal that the pagan system of worship was headed by the devil. No. But rather God's intention to reveal this symbolization, the beast as well as the red dragon, to John in the island of Patmos, is to predict the future and to reveal the true condition of those churches that had been raised by God, been the channel of revelation, and later on been defeated by the devil, and the one who led such churches is no longer God, but it is already headed by the devil. According to our reading, brothers and sisters. And that's why symbols do not lie. The picture tells the whole story, according to 1SR 124. Now, let us read 2SR. Here in 2SR page 86, let us read the statement. It says, "The leopard-like beast arises out of the sea in the same manner as the 4 beasts before it." Daniel 7 verse 3. "Therefore, the beast of Revelation 13 verses 1 to 9 is created from the result of war and commotion among the nations in the same manner as Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome." Since the evidence revealed by the symbol cannot be questioned, The leopard-like beast assumes the period after the fall of imperial Rome, corresponding to the feet and thews, iron and clay of the great image in Daniel chapter 2. In other words, the leopard-like beast arrives with the closing period represented by the first stage of the nondescript beast, while the second stage of the latter, papal Rome, continues up to 1798 AD. Consequently, the unfolding process of the one overlaps the downward course of the other. To John, the leopard-like beast was shown not in its unfolding process, but rather in its closing act. For he says, and his deadly wound was healed. Towards our page 86. So we need to be very careful in studying this subject, the beast revelation. And this prophecy says that a correct interpretation employed in the symbols is necessary to an understanding. According to Great Controversy, page 438. Now here the shepherd's rod plainly told us in 2SR page 86, saying, to John, the leopard-like beast was shown not in its unfolding process, but rather in its closing act. Or in other words, the vision that was shown by God concerning the leopard-like beast, the particular object in view is the closing act and not its unfolding process. It cannot be construed that the leopard-like beast did not begin in its unfolding process, for the shepherd's rod declared clearly in this reading that the unfolding process of the one, it says, consequently, the unfolding process of the one overlaps the downward course of the other. So each beast, there must be unfolding process. What does it mean by unfolding process? Now, if we will ask the question, what is represented by the leopard-like beast? The leopard-like beast is a beast represented a universal system. Now, let us read, brothers and sisters, again, this reading in 2SR page 86. It says here, inasmuch as the lion, the bear, the four-headed leopard, and the nondescript beast, the symbols of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, are linked to each other. The unbreakable chain of beasts make it impossible for another universal beast system to intersect their consecutive order. Consequently, the leopard-like beast of Revelation 13, verse 1 to 9, must follow the nondescript beast, Rome. What does it mean? The shepherd's rod is plainly telling in that statement that, brothers and sisters, there is no such period of time by which, in that period of time, there are two universal empires that reigning. It is consecutive order. One follow the other, brothers and sisters, and nothing intersect. The leopard-like beast never intersect in the period of the nondescript beast, in that period of time by which the nondescript beast is reigning universally. Or in other words, the shepherd's rod is plainly telling, brothers and sisters, that at the time when that is still the unfolding process of the beast, that is the time by which that beast did not as yet reign as a universal empire. When the beast began to reign as a universal empire, that is the end part of its unfolding process. The other term used by the shepherd's rod in 2TG, instead of unfolding process, the shepherd's rod used the term the formation of the leopard-like beast. Here in 2TG number 17, page 9, I would like to read. It says, "The earth then points to a place away from the sea, and the opposite of what sea stands for, a country made up of inhabitants who have immigrated from elsewhere. The only such country or nation away from the old country and as influential as portrayed in this two-horned beast that arises after the formation of the leopard-like beast." When does the two-horned beast arises? It says, after the formation of the leopard-like beast in the Protestant period is the United States. So when does the formation of the leopard-like beast ended? Ended in the commencement of the Protestant period, brothers and sisters. Now, also, when does the two-horned beast did arise? That was in 1798, brothers and sisters. Or, the Great Controversy, it says, let us read the Great Controversy, page 440. The Great Controversy, page 440, it says, "What nation of the New World was in 1798 rising into power, giving promise of strength and greatness and attracting the attention of the world? The application of the symbols admits of no question. One nation and only one meets the specifications of this prophecy. It points unmistakably to the United States of America." The Great Controversy, page 440. So when was the two-horned beast arise? That was in 1798. And the shepherd's rod says that it was after the formation of the leopard-like beast. Therefore, the leopard-like beast, the formation of the leopard-like beast ended in 1798. And at that time, that is also the time by which the two-horned beast began to arise into power. I would like to read again. It says, 2TG 17, page 9, "The only such country or nation away from the old country and as influential as portrayed in this two-horned beast that arises after the formation of the leopard-like beast." So for sure, in 1798, the leopard-like beast, its unfolding process and its formation ended in 1798. Now, let us go back again to the reading in 2SR, page 88. Let's read again. It says, "Where systems and governments do not all exist at the same time, the symbols show their consecutive order. Another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by its beast. And not one of them refers to anything in the past, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. Therefore, heads or horns have no reference to anything before or after the period represented by the beast." Now, this is the question. What is the period represented by the leopard-like beast? And when does that period of the leopard-like beast begins? I think the only answer that can be given is that the period represented by the leopard-like beast is a universal period. Or in other words, from 538 AD to 1798 AD, that is not the period of the leopard-like beast. The Sherbrooke used the term assume. So that is not his period. He assumed the period of the nondescript beast first stage. Now let us read to us our page 86. It says, since the evidence revealed by the symbol cannot be questioned, the leopard-like beast assumes the period after the fall of imperial Rome, corresponding to the feet and toes, iron and clay of the great image in Daniel chapter 2. Now, let us ponder deeply, brothers and sisters, this very important subject. The only way that you could be able to comprehend the leopard-like beast and also the nondescript beast is to connect Daniel chapter 2, because it says corresponding. The statement here in 2SR page 86, I would like to read again. It says, since the evidence revealed by the symbol cannot be questioned, the leopard-like beast assumes the period after the fall of imperial Rome, corresponding to the feet and toes, iron and clay of the great image in Daniel chapter 2. Now let us focus for a while the representation of the image in Daniel chapter 2. Let us read track number 12. Here in track number 12, on track number 12, page 87, it says, in her pagan period, Rome is symbolized by the great image, 2 legs of iron. And in her Christianized period, by its feet and toes of iron mixed with clay. Track number 12, page 87. Now the Sherbrooke made it so plain that in the pagan period of Rome, or the period of imperial Rome, is symbolized by the great image, 2 legs of iron. So the 2 legs of iron, both of them symbolizes the period of pagan Rome. But in our study concerning the beast, pagan Rome had not been able to consume her entire period represented by 2 legs, but rather the second period of pagan Rome, it was assumed by the leopard-like beast. Why, brothers and sisters? Now, I would like to read here in 2SR 100, I think 113. That's it, 2SR 113. It will be noticed that the scarlet-colored beast is crownless, as the nondescript beast of Daniel 7, verse 7 and 8. The 10 horns in the first stage of the nondescript beast, representing imperial Rome, had no crowns because they had received no kingdom as yet. But in his second stage, after the fall of imperial Rome, in reality, they should have been crowned, or in other words, supposed to be in that second period, because Rome in its pagan period was illustrated in Daniel 2 by the 2 legs of iron, according to track number 12, page 87. So the period of pagan Rome is divided into 2 periods. The first period of pagan Rome, the one who reigned is the emperor, or it is called imperialism of Rome. But in the second period, represented by the other leg, supposed to be the 10 horns should be crowned, brothers and sisters. Supposed to be. They should have been crowns because it was predicted beforehand in Daniel chapter 7. Verse 24. So let us read the book of Daniel. On Daniel chapter 7, on verse 24, it says, "And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings." So this verse, the portion by which it was not fulfilled during the dark ages, by which the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. The 10 kings that had been predicted that shall arise in Daniel 7 verse 24, accordingly, supposed to be in 476 AD, when the imperialism of Rome was fallen. Supposed to be, after that period, they should have been crowned. According to this reading in TESR 113, I would like to read again. It says, "The 10 horns in the first stage of the nondescript beast, representing imperial Rome, had no crowns because they had received no kingdom as yet. There is a similarity between the 10 horns of the nondescript beast and the 10 horns of the scarlet-colored beast, because the statement, received no kingdom as yet, is also used to the 10 horns of the scarlet-colored beast." Let me read to you here in 2TG number 18 on page 22. Let us read the statement. Number 10, in this instance, as elsewhere in the Bible, carries the meaning of universality. Then it says, "The 10 kings have no kingdom while the woman drives the beast, but jointly with the beast, they will have power as kings." The phrase "as yet" implies that after the 1 hour, they will receive their kingdom. 2TG number 18, page 22. So the statement "as yet," brothers and sisters, is plainly telling, brethren, that there is an appointed time that they will receive their kingdom. They will be crowned, according to that reading in 2TG number 18, page 22. Now let us read again the statement in TESR, page 113. "The 10 horns in the first stage of the nondescript beast, representing imperial Rome, had no crowns because they have received no kingdom as yet. But in his second stage, after the fall of imperial Rome, in reality, they should have been crowned, or supposed to be at that time, they should have been crowned. But the little horn, having the eyes of a man and a mouth speaking great things, a combination of a horn head, union of church and state, the papacy, being supreme, the horns could have no crowns, showing the papacy was to rule over kings." So that is very plain, brothers and sisters, that in the symbolization of the nondescript beast, from 63 BC, the time of the ascendancy of the imperialism of Rome. And we know the very first emperor is Augustus Caesar in 27 BC. From that period of time up to 476 AD, the one that reigns supreme is the emperor. And let us read here in 2SR page 139 says, I would like to read a statement. For the imperial government came to an end in the year 476 AD. So I would like to read again, 2SR 139. For the imperial government came to an end in the year 476 AD. So, the statement in 2SR 113 plainly telling us that supposed to be in 538 AD, the 10 horns of the nondescript beast must be crowned. Brothers and sisters, it must be crowned. But they did not receive the crown because in that period of time, the little horn head reigned supreme. The one who reigned universally in that period of time, brothers and sisters, is the papacy. So it utters the impossibility of such 10 horns of being crowned. So the statement in the Bible, in Daniel 7 verse 24, that out of this kingdom, so it can be easily understood that the statement out, meaning no longer a part of the nondescript beast. Brothers and sisters, saying in Daniel 7 verse 24, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom, meaning out of this beast, because the beast represent kingdom. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom, out of this beast, are 10 kings that shall arise. And there is no other beast by which the 10 horns was out from the nondescript beast, and it was placed to the leopard-like beast. And that is the period of time by which the leopard-like beast assume the period of the nondescript beast, second stage. Because the second stage of the nondescript beast, if you will connect to Daniel chapter 2, pagan Rome itself has 2 stages because it was represented by 2 legs of iron. According to track number 12, page 87. So the first leg must be pointing to 63 BC to 476 AD when the imperial Rome ended, according to SR 139. Supposed to be, the 10 horns should be crowned at that time. Because the only hindrance by which they could not be crowned because of the emperor. Now the emperor, the reign of imperialism ended in 476 AD. So that is the awaited time by which they waited for a long time to receive their crown, but again they were disappointed because the little hornhead reigned supreme. And that is the reason why Daniel declared that the 10 horns arise out of the kingdom of the nondescript beast. The word out meaning they separated themselves from that kingdom, brothers and sisters, and they were found on the kingdom represented by the leopard-like beast. And the the statement that the leopard-like beast, there is unfolding process, there is a formation of the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters. The word formation meaning the leopard-like beast gathered or inherits or possess, because that is the term used by the shepherd's rod. The first four beasts, brothers and sisters. And that is the reason why the leopard-like beast is called composite beast. But let us distinctly separate the period of the leopard-like beast during its formation and the period of the leopard-like beast by which it became a universal beast. Because this beast revelation is a consecutive order. And the shepherd's rod made it so plain that it is impossible that the leopard-like beast would intersect the period of the second stage of the Roman Empire, by which in that period of time, the one who reigns supreme is the papacy. So let us read again the statement in 2SR, page 86. It says here, inasmuch as the lion, the bear, the four-headed leopard, and the nondescript beast, the symbols of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, are linked to each other, the unbreakable chain of beasts make it impossible for another universal beast system to intersect their consecutive order. Consequently, the leopard-like beast of Revelation 13, verses 1 to 9, must follow the nondescript beast. Or in other words, the statement is not saying that the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters, there is no unfolding process. There was an unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, but the fact is that the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast is not the period of the leopard-like beast by which the leopard-like beast became a universal beast or a fifth universal beast. Because during the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, the one who reigns supreme from 538 AD to 1798 AD, that is the entire period of the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast by which that beast is inheriting the first four beasts by which the beast is called composite beast. The composition of the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, the formation of the leopard-like beast, he obtained it from the first four beasts, brothers and sisters. And during that time of his formation process, the leopard-like beast did not as yet reign as a universal beast. Otherwise, the Bible, brothers and sisters, would be in gross mistake by telling us that there are 7 kings in Revelation 17 verse 10. There are 7 kings in consecutive order, and brothers and sisters, accordingly to the shepherd's rod, it utters the impossibility that the leopard-like beast will intersect the period of the nondescript beast, second stage, in the period of time by which the papacy reigned supreme, brothers and sisters. And this occurrences is also portrayed on the scarlet-colored beast. That it is impossible for the 10 horns of the scarlet-colored beast being crowned during the time when the woman sitting on the scarlet-colored beast. It is the woman that reigned. Although the statement, brothers and sisters, in the Bible, that the 10 horns reign as kings 1 hour with the beast, brothers and sisters, indicating that although it seems that they were already considered as kings, but they have no crown. Because that is the statement, brothers and sisters, in the Bible and also in this prophecy, or as explained by the shepherd's rod. Now, why is it that I am trying to emphasize this prophecy, brothers and sisters? Because it is very important to understand the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast. Whatever the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast, I would like to read again this reading in 2SR page 88. It says, where systems and governments do not all exist at the same time, the symbols show their consecutive order. Another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by each beast, and not one of them refers to anything in the past save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. The statement, brothers and sisters, not one of them refers to anything in the past. What does it mean? Because if you will not understand that statement, it seems contradictory, because one of the 7 heads of the leopard-like beast is referring in the past concerning the time when the papacy had been wounded by Martin Luther. But the statement is plainly telling, I would like to read again. It says, another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by each beast. Now, pointing to the leopard-like beast, if we will apply this statement to the leopard-like beast, we can say that another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire leopard-like beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by the leopard-like beast when the leopard-like beast became a universal beast. And not one of them refers to anything in the past, meaning all the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast, not one of them refers anything in the past, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. So that statement, save meaning except the hereditary ancestral characteristics, meaning except the groundwork. Each beast, there must be groundwork. But each beast, there must be particular object in view. Let us distinctly separate the groundwork and the particular object in view. What is the particular object in view concerning the leopard-like beast? The closing act. B.T. Hotep explained the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast. But that unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, it was not shown by God to John the Beloved in the island of Patmos. Because the only thing that was shown by God to John the Beloved in the island of Patmos is only the closing act of the beast. Let us read again the statement given by the shepherd's rod in 2SR. Page 86. It says, let us read. To John, the leopard-like beast was shown not in its unfolding process, but rather in its closing act. For he says, and his deadly wound was healed. Now, brothers and sisters, think it thoroughly. First, the shepherd's rod made it so plain that Revelation 13 verses 1 to 10, the focal point, the particular object in view, is the closing act of the leopard-like beast. And concerning the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, it was not revealed to John. But it was revealed by God to Betty-Hotep. And that is why I fully believe that this verse in the Bible, in Revelation chapter 1, verse 1, let us read. Revelation 1, chapter 1, verse 1, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him. So the pronoun him we will place to John the Beloved, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. Now, I would like to elaborate this verse in Revelation 1 verse 1 by saying, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to John the Beloved, or in other words, the entire revelation of Jesus Christ that was shown by God to John the Beloved in the island of Patmos. All his visions was written by John the Beloved. But John himself had not been able to understand what he had written, but God promised that all the visions of John, God will show unto his servants, inscribed in plural form. Now, I fully believe the servants mentioned here must be the prophets. We can apply it to Sister White because Sister White, she has also knowledge concerning the book of Revelation, but not entirely. God also showed or bestowed knowledge to Alonzo Jones, and then to Betty-Hotep. So the servants mentioned here, brothers and sisters, must be the servants by which God gave them understanding concerning the book of Revelation. But it cannot be from 1844 backward. Because according to 2SR 191, the word hereafter must be pointing to 1844. The same with 3 Symbolic Code 8 to 10, page 8, that the time of the end, the beginning of the time of the end, in more specific terms, began in the year 1844. Then it must be pointing to the servants of God from 1844 onwards. And I do fully believe that if you will combine as one the knowledge that was bestowed by God to Sister White, the knowledge that was bestowed by God to Alonzo Jones and Wagoner, and the knowledge that was bestowed by God to Betty-Hotep, if you will combine them as one, that is the entire explanation of the book of Revelation that God showed to his servants, brothers and sisters. And look at the statement in the shepherd's rod, brothers and sisters. On page 86, it says, in other words, the leopard-like beast arrives with the closing period represented by the first stage of the nondescript beast. So the leopard-like beast arrives in the closing period, according to this reading, in the closing period represented by the first stage of the nondescript beast. So what is the first stage of the nondescript beast? Pagan Rome. So the closing period of pagan Rome must be from 476 AD to 538 AD. And that is why Betty-Hotep used the term that the leopard-like beast is the melting pot. I would like to read that statement, brothers and sisters. In page 21, in track number 12, the composite makeup of this beast, mouth of a lion, feet of a bear, body of a leopard, and 10 horns, is faithful witness that he is a descendant of Babylon, lion, Medo-Persia, bear, Grecia, leopard, and pagan Rome, 10 horns. Hence, this beast is the melting pot of the 4 ancient world empires, and must, along with its 7 heads and 10 crown horns, characterize the world today. Track number 12, page 21. Now, let me show you the whole story, brothers and sisters. Although I could no longer remember that statement, that I think that is in great controversy. Now, let me tell you the story. We know the entire story, right? B.T. Hotep says that in the first period of pagan Rome, the first leg of iron, he persecuted the Christians. Will you please locate that statement? And then later on, he reversed. He persecuted the pagans. Because the beast revelation is a perfect portrayal how God revealed the work of Satan. It is the work of Satan, brothers and sisters, that had been revealed by God through the beast revelation. B.T. Hotep says that later on, pagan had been persecuted in favor of Christianity. First, he persecuted the Christian. That is, from 31 AD, I would like to place the entire period, let us say 476 AD. At that time, the Christians had been persecuted by pagans, or the first stage of the nondescript beast, brothers and sisters, right? And this is what happened in this study on the beast revelation. I would like to read. And this is what happened. The purpose of the revelation of the leopard-like beast in Revelation 13. You didn't find the statement. Now, I'm looking at that statement saying that first, the paganism religion persecuted the Christians, and later on, it is the pagan that had been persecuted, brothers and sisters, to Christianize them. And there is also a statement in this for prophecy that Satan is worrying that if Christian and pagan religion will be combined together, there might be possibility that they will be at war against each other. And that is the reason that he uses the Christians to persecute the pagans. And that is why it is called the second stage of Rome as Christianized Rome. That is the statement used by the shepherd's rod. Now, let us focus our attention to the leopard-like beast. In this study, you can immediately discern that Satan himself cannot unite all his instruments. Even the atheists. That's okay. We are track number 5, page 58. Even the atheists, if God will not intervene, put into their hearts to unite such system, God is the only one who can do it. Satan himself, brothers and sisters, he has no an absolute power to unite all his instruments. I would like to read here in 2TG number 36. It says, in page 7, we know that the 10 horns on the scarlet-colored beast crownless horns represent communism. And I would like to read this reading in page 7, 236, page 7. God is nevertheless to intercept by putting it in their hearts to give their power and strength unto the beast. For sure, the beast is of Satan. The communists, they are of Satan. But Satan himself cannot unite them as one. But in order to finish this great controversy, brothers and sisters, it is a handicap, brothers and sisters. It seems God gave favor to Satan. Satan himself could not be able to unite all his instruments. Pagan religion is of Satan, according to the Great Controversy. Let us read. Here in the Great Controversy 400, the Great Controversy 438, it says, the line of prophecy in which these symbols are found begins with Revelation chapter 12, with the dragon that sought to destroy Christ at his birth. It says, the dragon is said to be Satan, Revelation 12 verse 9. He it was that moved upon Herod to put the Savior to death. But the chief agent of Satan in making war upon Christ and his people during the first centuries of the Christian era was the Roman Empire, in which paganism was the prevailing religion. And it says, thus while the dragon primarily represents Satan, it is in a secondary sense a symbol of pagan Rome. The Great Controversy, page 438. So, paganism, it is of Satan. And the little horned head that arise into power in 538 AD is also of Satan. But Satan saw that he could not be able to unite pagan and the papacy. So God is telling us that what Satan did, brothers and sisters, in order to preserve paganism, he permitted that such pagan system of religion to take them out of this nondescript beast, because the one reigning on the nondescript beast is the papacy. And the papacy is persecuting the pagan religion. But Satan needs pagan religion because that is one of his schemes. Now, Satan has no power now to unite these two schemes into one. They were fighting against each other. And God showed it in the revelation of the leopard-like beast. The other card of Satan, brothers and sisters, how Satan separated his scheme in that period of time. Because if he will not separate, the possibility that only one would exist. Either pagan religion will vanish away, or either the Catholic religion will be the one to vanish away. So what he did, he separated the two, brothers and sisters. And God revealed it through the symbolization of the leopard-like beast. And that is the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, by which the shepherds had called it as the melting pot. Brothers and sisters, now let us continue in this study. To repeat again, the illustration on the 10 horns, the nondescript beast, that's supposed to be, they will be crowned on 538 AD but the little hornhead reigns supreme. And it utters the impossibility of being crowned. Therefore, brothers and sisters, or in other words, in that period of time, it is the desire of Satan that, if possible, pagan religion will reign supreme, and at the same time, the papal religion would also reign supreme, but he cannot do it, brothers and sisters, because if they will be joined together as one, the possibility that one of them will vanish away into oblivion. So what he did, he separated it. And God revealed it to us through the leopard-like beast revelation, brothers and sisters. Now, while the papacy reigned supreme from 538 AD to 1798 AD, the devil is also preparing the other card, the other deception. And it was revealed by God by the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters. The unfolding process of the leopard-like beast from 538 AD to 1798 AD. And that is the period of time by which the 10 horns of the nondescript beast, it says, out of this kingdom. Why is it that the 10 horns, they needed to be out? Because if they will not out of the kingdom of the nondescript beast by which the little hornhead, the papacy, reigns supreme, they will vanish away. So they needed to be out. But it is Satan. God only revealing to Daniel that it is Satan who out the 10 horns. And then it was illustrated that to the leopard-like beast, just to illustrate that there is another scheme of the devil, brothers and sisters, by which it was not employed on the second stage of the nondescript beast, because the one that had been employed on the second stage of the nondescript beast is the little hornhead, the papacy. The papacy, according to the Shepherd's Rod, it is called a monosectarian system. Now, let us read in 2SR. Page 114. It says, the nondescript beast has only one horned head, a symbol of a monosectarian system, by alliance of civil power with religious creed. That is the system that had been employed by Satan from 538 AD to 1798 AD. What system? Monosectarian system. Although, I would like to say that in reality, that is not the desire of Satan. He was forced to employ a monosectarian system because he cannot unite the two, the pagan and the papacy, brothers and sisters. Supposed to be, he wants at that time to employ a dual, not mono, but a dual sectarian system. But as Satan saw that he could not be able to unite them as one, to have a dual sectarian system, he was forced to separate the other. And then, at that time, the system that he employed is a monosectarian system, brothers and sisters. And we should not, however, forget that accordingly, brothers and sisters, in 2SR 123, it says, thus the symbol of the woman sitting on the waters represents the period before the Reformation. This was true during the period of papal supremacy, For at that time the papacy ruled the Roman world, peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Thus the woman sat on the waters during the 1,260 prophetic years of Daniel 7 verse 25. But she is yet to sit on the 7 heads and on the beast. Had she sat on the nondescript beast instead of on the waters, it would have been wrongly symbolized. For the woman, by the tool of Catholicism, a monosectarian system, did not reign over all the world. So always remember that statement. Historically, according to the voice of inspiration, that the woman, through the tool of monosectarian system, Catholicism, failed to reign all over the world. So she had not been able to reign all over the world by that medium, by that system, monosectarian system, Catholicism. Brothers and sisters. Now let us focus first to the leopard-like beast. We need to study every symbol of the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters, because it is very important. Now, during the period of 538 AD to 1798 AD, the statement given by the shepherd's rod is that the leopard-like beast reigned contemporaneously with the nondescript beast second stage. Let us read the statement in 2 TG number 17, page 7. It says, still further, the leopard-like beast blasphemed God and his tabernacle just as long as did Daniel's fourth beast in his second phase. Ecclesiastical Rome, that is, at time and times and the dividing of time, 3 years and 6 months, 40 and 2 months. Plain it is, then, that the leopard-like beast reigned contemporaneously with the nondescript beast in his second phase, the phase of the little horned head. Now, the voice of inspiration made it so plain that the leopard-like beast reigned contemporaneously with the nondescript beast in his second phase, the phase of the little horned head. That statement, in reality, is synonymous to the situation of the 10 crownless horns of the scarlet-colored beast. Now, let us read again the statement here in 2 TG number 18, page 22. Number 10, in this instance, as elsewhere in the Bible, carries the meaning of universality. The 10 kings have no kingdom while the woman drives the beast, but jointly with the beast they will have power as kings. So the statement they will have power as kings is synonymous to declare that the 10 horns of the scarlet-colored beast, being crownless, they reign contemporaneously as kings while the woman is riding on the scarlet-colored beast during the parabolical 1 hour when the woman is riding the scarlet-colored beast. They reign as kings, but they have no crowns. Brothers and sisters. So, the illustration given in the Bible is very plain. At the time that they reign as kings, only as kings, but no kingdom as yet. Because they were not crowns. Although, so it is an irony, brothers and sisters, to declare that they were kings but had no kingdom. And the illustration is the same with the 10 horns of the nondescript beast. The pagan, or represented by paganism. The 10 horns of the nondescript beast, first stage, pointing to paganism or pagan religion. Pagan religion, brothers and sisters, there are many different paganism, even in the days of the apostles. Different system of pagan religion. And these 10 horns, during the time when the emperor are reigning from 27 BC up to 476 AD, supposed to be in 476 AD, they could reign as kings. Brothers and sisters, they could reign as kings. They should have been crowned, but they were disappointed because the little horn head reigned supreme, according to the shepherd's rod in 2 SR 113. Although the desire of Satan to join them as one, but he could not. And in order to preserve the pagan system of religion, Satan separated the 10 horns, and it was illustrated in the vision of John in the symbolization of the leopard-like beast, by which at that time in the formation of the leopard-like beast, or in other words, all other scheme of the devil by which he had not been able to employ at the time when the papacy reigned supreme, he prepared it. He prepared that scheme, and it was illustrated to the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters. And in that period of time, from 538 AD to 1798 AD, the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast in his unfolding process, it has no crown as yet. And that 10 horns is represented by the 10 horns on the nondescript beast that Satan out them on the nondescript beast second stage, because the papacy reigned supreme. And the papacy persecuted the pagans. Brothers and sisters. So, what I'm trying to emphasize first is that 538 AD, 1798 AD, that is not the period of the leopard-like beast. That is the period of the second stage of pagan Rome, because pagan Rome, in tract number 12, page 87, is represented by 2 legs of iron. But the second period of pagan Rome, brothers and sisters, it was assumed by the leopard-like beast, according to the shepherd's rod in 2 SR, brothers and sisters. So let us read again the statement in 2 SR, page 86. It says, since the evidence revealed by the symbol cannot be questioned, the leopard-like beast assumes the period after the fall of imperial Rome. So he assumes the second period of the imperial Rome, corresponding to the feet and toes, iron and clay, of the great image in Daniel chapter 2. Brothers and sisters. But the fact is, brothers and sisters, the feet and toes on Daniel chapter 2 is pointing to papal Rome, the Christianized Rome. Or in other words, the shepherd's rod is telling here that in the period of the feet and toes, which pointing to the reign of papacy, in that period of time, the leopard-like beast assumed the second period of pagan Rome, represented by the other legs of iron, brothers and sisters. And it could not be the period of the leopard-like beast. Otherwise, the leopard-like beast intersect the period of the papacy, and it is impossible because it is consecutive order according to the shepherd's rod in 2 SR, page 86. And to repeat again, brothers and sisters, the statement given by the shepherd's rod in 2 SR, page 88, saying that another factor to be noted that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by each beast. Now, pointing to the period represented by each beast, the period of being universal, it was in consecutive order. So, the particular object in view of each beast must be applied in the period when the beast is reigning, not in the period when the beast was not yet reigning. For example, brothers and sisters, whatever application to the leopard-like beast from 1798 backwards, it is only the hereditary ancestral characteristics, meaning the groundwork. That is not the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast, because the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast must transpire within the period represented by the leopard-like beast. And the period represented by the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters, it must be after 1798, after the fall of papacy. Because it utters the impossibility that the leopard-like beast will intersect the period of the papacy. Otherwise, it could no longer be a consecutive order. Now, I would like to read 2SR, page 85. It says, let us read. The nondescript beast of Daniel 7, representing Rome in his first stage, shows prophetically by his 10 horns that were 10 kings to arise out of Rome. In his second stage, it is shown that the papacy was to arise, subdue 3 kings, and wear out the saints of the Most High for the space of the 1,260 years. But it tells not of the fall of the Roman monarchy or the papacy. It is silent concerning the Reformation that came before or after 1798 AD. Therefore, the lack of information by the symbols of this beast must be found somewhere else in the prophetic Word of God. This must be sought in the book of Revelation, for it is the complement to Daniel's prophecies. The leopard-like beast of Revelation 13, verse 1 to 10, is the only symbolical prophecy that tells of the fall of the Roman monarchy, the crowning of the 10 kings, the one of the papacy, the Reformation and rise of Protestantism, and the captivity of the Pope. Now, this statement, brothers and sisters, could not be the focal point of the leopard-like beast. But it is only pointing to the groundwork. That is how God, brothers and sisters, reveal His words. I remember in track number 5, let us read track number 5, page 34. It says, fulfilled prophecies are seen, therefore, to be employed by the Scriptures only as groundwork for that part of prophecy which is yet to be fulfilled. Now, for example, brothers and sisters, let us raise the question, what part of the leopard-like beast that was shown by God to John the Revelator? The answer is found in the shepherd's rod, the closing act of the beast. Or in other words, what is the particular object in view of showing the leopard-like beast to John the Revelator? The particular object in view is the closing act of the leopard-like beast. Because that is the vision of John. Here in 2SR page 86, let us read again. It says, in other words, the leopard-like beast arrives with the closing period represented by the first stage of the nondescript beast, while the second stage of the latter, papal Rome, continues up to 1798 AD. Consequently, the unfolding process of the one overlaps the downward course of the other. To John, the leopard-like beast was shown not in its unfolding process, but rather in its closing act. For he says, and his deadly one was healed. Or in other words, brothers and sisters, the focal point, the particular object in view that was shown by God to John the Revelator is the closing act of the beast, not its unfolding process. The only one who explained that there is an unfolding process of the leopard-like beast is Beethoven. And the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, that was from 538 AD to 1798 AD. That is the unfolding process of the leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters. But that is not the particular object in view. Because the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast is the time when the leopard-like beast became a universal beast. The leopard-like beast did not become a universal beast not until the period of the papacy being a universal beast ended, because it is a consecutive order. 538 to 1798 AD. That is the period of the papacy reign supreme. Now, for example, brothers and sisters, the statement given by the shepherd's rod, I think there are at least 3 statements given by the shepherd's rod. First, I would like to read 2SR page 117. It says here, Revelation 17 verse 9, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman seated, all the heads being present on the beast, and the woman sitting on them, proves that all 7 mountains must be in existence at the same time. They cannot be consecutive, for the woman sits on them all, which denotes one great union of the heads by the medium of the woman." Now, the shepherd's rod says that they must be existence at the same time, and they cannot be consecutive. So what does it mean, brothers and sisters? It can be easily understood, brothers and sisters, that the Bible is very plain that the woman sit on the 7 heads. It could not be consecutive that he sit first to the first head, and then later on she sit on the second head, and then she sit on the 3rd head, 4th head, 5th head, 6th, and then 7th. No, that's not what the Bible say. It is not consecutive order. Meaning, at the time when the woman sits the 7 heads, all of them must be in existence, and the woman sits on them the same period of time. But it doesn't mean that the 7 heads are not in consecutive order. Because if the 7 heads, for example, here in 2SR page 107, let me read to you. 2SR page 107, concerning the 7 heads of the leopard-like beast. I would like to read first in 2SR page 88. Because this is pointing to the leopard-like beast. 2SR page 88. Let us read 2SR page 88. "Where systems and governments," let's read the upper part, "horns and heads all present, I, John, saw the beast, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns." Let us not overlook the fact that all horns, crowns, and heads are present on the beast. Therefore, whatever meaning is derived by the symbol, all must be in existence at the time his deadly wound was healed. Had it not been so, the symbols of heads and horns would have come one after another, as it was with the little horn and the other 3 that were plucked up from the nondescript beast of Daniel 7, verse 7. A similar method is observed with the he-goat. After the notable horn, Alexander, was broken off, 4 came up to take its place, the 4 divisions of Grecia, and after this came up the exceeding great horn which primarily represented Rome, Daniel 8 verse 8 and 9. Where systems and governments do not all exist at the same time, the symbols show their consecutive order. Another factor to be noted, that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by each beast. And it says, and not one of them refers to anything in the past, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. Therefore, heads or horns have no reference to anything before or after the period represented by the beast. It is also unnatural for heads, members of the beast, to exist before or after the beast himself. Therefore, it would be inconsistent to conclude that the horns as well as the heads could denote a consecutive order of systems, so long as they all appear at the time of the closing act of the beast. The leopard-like beast in his wounded state must be intended to prophetically point out the existing condition with the present civilization. Now, ponder deeply these 3 paragraphs, brothers and sisters. First of all, I would like to remind again that according to the Shepherd's Rod in 2SR page 86, to John, the leopard-like beast was not shown in its unfolding process, but rather in its closing act. But through analysis, by the gift of inspiration, B.T. Hotep explains that there was an unfolding process of the leopard-like beast. But that unfolding process was not shown by God to John the Revelator, according to 2SR page 86. Therefore, the focal point, the particular object in view of the leopard-like beast, is the closing act of the leopard-like beast. When does the closing act of the leopard-like beast begins? If there is a closing act, there must also a beginning act of the leopard-like beast. The leopard-like beast, brothers and sisters, is a universal empire. During the period of unfolding process of the leopard-like beast from 538 AD to 1798 AD, it is not the period of the leopard-like beast because that is the period of the papacy, the period of being a universal empire, and it utters the impossibility that the leopard-like beast would intersect the period of the papacy, according to 2SR page 86. Then we can easily understand that in 538, in 1798 AD, it could not be the closing act of the leopard-like beast. Or in other words, the entire period of the leopard-like beast being a universal empire, there must be a beginning act and closing act. But the focal point, the particular object in view of the vision of John concerning the leopard-like beast, it is his closing act. But it utters the impossibility that you could understand the closing act of the leopard-like beast unless you have a complete understanding the beginning act of the leopard-like beast. But the Shepherd's Rod is plainly telling that at the closing act of the leopard-like beast, that is the time that all are already in existence. The 10 horns are already in existence. The 7 heads are already in existence. And at the same time, the wounded head was already healed. That is the closing act of the leopard-like beast. The commencement of the closing act of the leopard-like beast. Now, let us read again. It says, in 2SR page 88, therefore, it would be inconsistent to conclude that the horns as well as the heads could denote consecutive orders of systems, so long as they all appear at the time of the closing act of the beast. So, it says, brothers and sisters, that when does all of them appear? At the time of the closing act of the beast. So, the statement here in 2SR page 107, let us read. 2SR 107. It would have been unwise and useless. It would have been unwise and useless to devise this prophetic beast if the symbols would fail to reveal Protestantism as they do Catholicism. Before the 1,260 years ended in 1798, the four Protestant denominations were already in existence, namely Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, and Christian. But after 1798 came the First-day Adventist, and the Seventh-day Adventist from 1844 to 1929 completed his 7 heads. Now, brothers and sisters, in this study, we can immediately discern that the formation of the leopard-like beast in its perfect application ended in 1929, because his 7 heads have not been completed not until in 1929, according to this reading. When does the 7 heads and the 10 horns, all of them are already in existence? Not in the unfolding process, but rather in the closing act. Let us read again the statement in 2SR page 86. It says, 88 rather, 2SR page 88. It says, as they all appear at the time of the closing act of the beast. So, what time by which all of them are already appear on the leopard-like beast? It is in the closing act of the beast. But, for example, prior to 1844, brothers and sisters, the 7 heads of the leopard-like has not as yet completed, because it was not completed not until 1929, according to 2SR page 107. Therefore, in 1929, that is still the period called the formation of the leopard-like beast. Let us distinctly separate the formation of the leopard-like beast being a composite beast and the formation of the leopard-like beast being a leopard-like beast, not a composite beast. Let us focus first, brothers and sisters, to the time, brothers and sisters, by which the woman sits on the 7 heads. I would like to read this reading. It says here, 1 Symbolic Code number 5, page 6. 1 Symbolic Code number 5, page 6. It says, if the Seventh-day Adventist denomination is one of the 7 heads of the beast, that is leopard-like beast. So let's see the statement. 1 Symbolic Code number 5, page 6. If the Seventh-day Adventist denomination is one of the 7 heads of the beast, then how can the woman of Revelation 17 sit on the 7 heads, one of them being the Seventh-day Adventist, after the purification, at which time the church will be composed of pure members only? This is the answer. The questioner will note that there are 2 beasts with 7 heads, one in Revelation 13 and the other in Revelation 17. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is symbolized by one of the heads on the former beast. The woman sits on the 7 heads of the latter beast, which is the scarlet colored, which has nothing to do with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, and which finds its fulfillment in the period after the purification of the church. Hence, the woman is not sitting on the Seventh-day Adventist church, but rather on the Protestant churches who have become Babylon. Now, notice, the Shepherd's Rod makes it so plain that the woman will sit on the 7 heads after the purification of the church. Do not forget that. That is very important in our study, brothers and sisters. Now let us go back to our subject. Our subject in reality is pointing to Revelation 13, verse 3, the one we studied yesterday. Now here in Revelation 13, verse 3, let us read again. Revelation chapter 13, verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Now to repeat again, brothers and sisters, let us distinctly separate the particular object in view in the groundwork, or the hereditary ancestral characteristics. Because the Shepherd's Rod made it so plain, brothers and sisters, that whatever the symbolization of the beast, it must transpire within the period represented by the beast. Now let us read again, 2SR page 88. It says, another factor to be noted, that every symbol of the entire procession of the beast, meaning every symbol. Now, this is a part of the symbol of the leopard like this, verse 3. Every symbol of the entire procession of the beast point out facts that were to transpire within the period represented by its beast, and not one of them refers to anything in the past, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. So the statement, not one of them refers to anything in the past, pointing to the particular object in view. So we could explain the particular object in view could not refer anything in the past before the period of the leopard-like beast did begins. And since the period of the leopard-like beast commenced in 1798, after the reign of the papacy, brothers and sisters, after the reign of the papacy, then we can easily discern that whatever the symbolization of the leopard-like beast cannot be refer anything prior to its period, save the hereditary ancestral characteristics. So let us distinctly separate the purpose of God to portray the groundwork and the purpose of God to portray the particular object in view. Because concerning the entire book of Revelation, the particular object in view is from 1844 onwards. Hereafter, according to 2SR 191, that is from 1844 onwards. Because if the particular object in view is occurred from 1844 backwards, why is it that God did not reveal to them the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel? They have not been profited by the books. That is the statement in 2SR 111. Because they have no understanding concerning the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. They have not been profited by that book, brothers and sisters. So the particular object in view must be from 1844 onwards. And that's why in track number 5 on page, let us read, page 33 and page 34, it says, so though all such prophecies necessarily bring to our attention things which took place centuries ago, yet they are designed, like the revelation, to show to God's people things which must shortly come to pass. Fulfilled prophecies are seen, therefore, to be employed by the Scriptures only as groundwork for that part of prophecy which is yet to be fulfilled. And in page 32, Bitihotep called it particular object in view. The statements which must shortly come to pass, Revelation 1 verse 1, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter, Revelation 4 verse 1, go to say that the revelation is given with the one particular object in view. There is particular object in view, brothers and sisters. But it is necessary to have the groundwork to establish the particular object in view. So this statement in 2SR page 85, saying that the lack of information in Daniel chapter 7, brothers and sisters, it was shown to the book of Revelation concerning the fall of Roman monarchy, to SR page 85, and concerning the Reformation that came before or after 1798. And brothers and sisters, so here the statement is pointing to the fall of Roman monarchy or the fall of papacy, and also concerning the Reformation that came before 1798 and after 1798. Now, here, brothers and sisters, it's only a groundwork. The Reformation that came before 1798 and the Reformation that came after 1798 that had been portrayed by the leopard-like beast. Now, let us focus now to the deadly one of concerning the statement in Revelation 13 verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly one was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Now let us distinctly separate the groundwork and the particular object in view. Why is it that Sister White, it seems that she applied Revelation 13 verse 3. It seems that it was fulfilled in her days, that all the world wondered after the beast. Also, Alonzo Jones, he uses the same verse to apply in his lifetime, and also Betty Hotep, brothers and sisters. But we will prove to you that Revelation 13 verse 3, more particularly to the statement, all the world wondered after the beast, the focal point is in the judgment that pertains to the living, not in the judgment that pertains to the dead. Brothers and sisters, in studying the beast revelation, we need to combine them all as one. First, who revealed the beast revelation? It is God. What is the purpose of God of revealing the beast revelation to Daniel as well as John? First, B.T. Hotep says in 2SR 221, the revelation itself is not the prophecy, but rather it is a revelation of the prophecy. Now, concerning the beast revelation, it is a revelation of the prophecy in the book of Daniel, because that is the only book in the Old Testament by which there was a beast revelation, and that is on chapter 7 and chapter 8. That two chapters revealed the beast revelation, brothers and sisters. Now, as far as the book of Daniel is thus concerned, what is the focal point? Why is it that God revealed to Daniel as well as to John concerning the beast revelation? To repeat again, the mere fact that is the focal point of the message of the third angel in Revelation 14, verse 9, 10, 11, and 12, is concerning Christ's mediation in the heavenly sanctuary, story of redemption 381, and also the beast revelation, is God trying the statement here in track number 12 that God is in at supreme pains. Here in track number 12, page 28, it says, a full realization of the glorious reward that awaits mankind will even now compel men to shout for joy, and a like realization of the dreadful penalty that awaits all who fail to make God their refuge will cause them even now to weep and gnash their teeth, that all might realistically see these alternative prospects and be impelled thereby to repentance. The Lord has been at supreme pains, not only to record a graphic description of the evil which through the instrumentality of the beast, Satan has determined upon the whole world, but also aforehand to make of a similar evil a perfect type of the image of the beast. So here the voice of inspiration is plainly telling that the Lord is at supreme pains to record in a graphic description of the evil, which through the instrumentality of the beast, or meaning through the instrumentality of that system, the complete satanic system, to deceive God's people. And what is the focal point of such deception? To hide, to cancel to their minds, to their understanding concerning Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary. And that is the reason that the last three beasts, the nondescript, the leopard-like, and the scarlet-colored beasts, brothers and sisters, is that the principal reason why God revealed that three last beasts, representing the entire New Testament era, according to 2 SR 85 and 86, brothers and sisters, is to reveal the true condition of the churches. What is the true condition of the churches? Brothers and sisters, the true condition is that Satan had been able to successfully hide from their minds, from their thoughts, the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. Trodden underfoot. It seems that it became out of value, and nobody focused their attention in studying the sanctuary doctrine, by which in reality, Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary is about to be finished. And the people has no knowledge at all. So that is the focal point, brothers and sisters, in this study concerning the beast revelation, by which we need to understand. Now, if we will be studying the beast revelation, by which in reality, the outcome of our study is that the sanctuary doctrine, or the Christ mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary, is still unknown in our understanding, then for sure, brothers and sisters, the intention of God in revealing this beast revelation to completely uncovers the traps of the devil had not been met. And Satan is only laughing in the dark, brothers and sisters, because we are in total darkness concerning the occurrence in the heavenly sanctuary, more pertaining to the judgment for the living. Let us now focus our attention, brothers and sisters, to repeat again. What is the teaching of the shepherd's rod concerning the particular object in view, concerning the leopard-like beast? Now, let us read track number 12. Here in track number 12, on page 21 and page 22. So let us read this reading. Track number 12, page 21 and page 22. It says, the beast 40 and 2-month period falls in the time of ecclesiastical Rome, the empire after pagan Rome. So that was in 538 AD to 1798 AD. Whereas its wounded state symbolized here during the Protestant period. When does the wounded state of the leopard-like beast? During the Protestant period. Brothers and sisters, we should observe the grammar used by inspiration saying, whereas. The word whereas always connotes, indicates, opposite to the previous statement. So the shepherd's rod is plainly telling that during the Dark Ages, 538 to 1798 AD, brothers and sisters, it says that in that period of time, that is not the period of time by which the leopard-like beast had been wounded, because it says whereas, meaning, pointing to another period of time, the wounded state of the leopard-like beast is during the Protestant period. Now, when does the Protestant period begins? In 2TG 22, 21 and 22, let's read. This symbolical prophecy is seen to corroborate history. It points out that the Christian church at first suffered martyrdom shown by the color red, then followed the dark ages of religion when the church was in captivity, black. Following this came the Protestant period, the period of religious freedom, white team, 2TG 22, 21, and 22. The shepherds had made it so plain that the Protestant period begins after the Dark Ages. Now let us read answerer number 3, page 45. Answerer number 3, page 44 and page 45. Let us read. It says, is the beast both secular and ecclesiastical power? Does not the head that was wounded to death, Revelation 13 verse 3, represent the combined secular and ecclesiastical power of the Middle Ages? Answer. Those who understand that the wounded head of the leopard-like beast, Revelation 13 verse 1 to 3, symbolizes Rome in her ecclesiastical period, doubtless also understand that the little horn which had the eyes of men and a mouth speaking great things, Daniel 7 verse 8, likewise symbolizes Rome before the head was wounded. Rightly to understand the subject, it is necessary to examine this double-faced symbol from the ground up, beginning with Daniel's view. Having eyes of men and a mouth and the little horn is actually a horn head, a unique thing among governments, a composite hierarchy of civil and religious powers fused into one sovereign head during the Dark or Middle Ages, the glory that was Rome's. Accordingly, the medieval union of secular and ecclesiastical powers in the Roman Church gives the key to the interpretation of both the horn and the head, proving that the head, which was wounded unto death, is figurative of the ecclesiastical part only. For on the leopard-like beast, Rome is not represented by either a wounded horn or a horn head, but by a wounded head only, which shows that the blow affected not the secular half, the state horn, but only the ecclesiastical half, the church head. Answerer number 3, page 44 and page 45. Now, do we believe the statement that the deadly blow that thrown by Martin Luther affected only half of the ecclesiastical? Brothers and sisters, it is only half of the ecclesiastical. Remember, we are dealing only spiritual aspects. And when it comes to ecclesiastical, it points out to the doctrines that had been wounded by Martin Luther. Why is it that the shepherd's rod says, brothers and sisters, according to that reading, that only half of the ecclesiastical that had been wounded by Martin Luther, not the entire ecclesiastical? Remember, the one that ruled during the Dark Ages is Catholicism. 2SR page 123. And it is called by the shepherd's rod in 2SR 114, monosectarian system. And that ecclesiastical head is founded by two main doctrines. What is the two main doctrines that had been established with that ecclesiastical head? The immortality of the soul and the Sunday observance. The mere fact that the shepherd's rod made it so plain that only half of the ecclesiastical, meaning only half of the doctrine, which is the fundamental doctrines of the Catholics that had been wounded by Martin Luther, which is the immortality of the soul. It's so because the other half, it cannot be affected by the blow of Martin Luther because Martin Luther himself is a Sunday keeper. He has no knowledge concerning the other half of the foundation of the doctrines of the Catholics, which is the false doctrine, brothers and sisters, pertaining to Sunday observance. Now, I would like to read the Great Controversy, page 448 and 449. Let me read to you. Although there are many passages that we would like to prove this statement, brothers and sisters. And let us read. It says here, the theory of immortality of the soul, the Great Controversy, 548 and 549. The theory of the immortality of the soul was one of those false doctrines that Rome, borrowing from paganism, incorporated into the religion of Christendom. Martin Luther clashed it with the monstrous fables that form part of the Roman dunghill of decretals. It says, commenting on the words of Solomon in Ecclesiastes, that the dead know not anything, the Reformer says, another place proving that the dead have no feeling, there is said he no duty, no science, no knowledge, no wisdom there. Solomon judgeth that the dead are asleep and feel nothing at all, for the dead lie there, accounting neither days nor years, but when they are awake, they shall seem to have slept scarce 1 minute. Martin Luther. The Great Controversy, 548 and 549. So, brothers and sisters, only that doctrine, only half of the foundation of the doctrines of the Roman Catholics that have been wounded by Martin Luther, because the other doctrines, which is pointing to, brothers and sisters, Sunday observance, Martin Luther had not been able to deliver a deadly blow with that doctrine, brothers and sisters, because he himself is a Sunday keeper, brothers and sisters. And I would like to read this reading, brothers and sisters, that here in the Great Controversy, in page 449, but when Sunday observance shall be enforced by law, and the world shall be enlightened concerning the obligation of the true Sabbath, then whoever shall transgress the command of God to obey a precept, which has no higher authority than that of Rome, will thereby honor Popery above God. He is paying homage to Rome and to the power which enforced the institution ordained by Rome. So, Sunday observance, it is an institution ordained by the Roman Catholicism, brothers and sisters. So, the shepherd's rod can never be mistaken. The deadly blow that had been delivered by Martin Luther only affect half of the ecclesiastical. So, the half of the ecclesiastical that was wounded by Martin Luther is the groundwork, and the unfulfilled portion of the leopard-like beast, the other half of Catholicism, which is Sunday observance, it is the particular object in view. And the one who wounded it, brothers and sisters, for sure. Let us read track number 8. Here on track number 8, page 59. It says, the 5 smooth stones in David's bag, with one of which he slew Goliath, typify the 5-fold power in the antitypical shepherd's bag, the Bible. With one part of which God shall today smite the beast and his image, the nations, the antitypical Goliath. And since we know that it is by his word, in the form of a message, that he shall smite the nations, then obviously, the 5 smooth stones represent 5 messages, the last of which is to wound the beast, destroy his image, and free God's people from the fear of the heathen. Now look at the statement. The last stone represented by the 11th hour message is the message that will wound the leopard-like beast. Now, that statement perfectly corroborating to track number 12, page 21 and 22, that the period of the leopard-like beast wounded state is in the Protestant period. When does the Protestant period begins? To TG 2222, after the Dark Ages. As a matter of fact, to repeat again, track number 12, page 21 and 22 itself, very plain, because the word whereas indicates opposite meaning to the previous statement. The previous statement saying, during the Dark Ages, brothers and sisters, the 42 months of the leopard-like beast by which he blasphemed God and his tabernacle. But it says, whereas its wounded state is in the Protestant period. The Protestant period is after 1798, 2TG 2222. Track number 8, page 59, the one that will wound the beast is the message that cometh from God. And the only part of the wounded head that delivered by Martin Luther, only half of the ecclesiastical. Answerer number 3, page 45. Why is it only half? Because that head on the leopard-like beast is Catholicism, according to 1 SR 220. That is the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church is founded into two main fundamental doctrines: immortality of the soul and the Sunday observance. And we already read in the Great Controversy 548 and 549 that the only part by which Martin Luther had been able to wound the little horn head, brothers and sisters, is concerning the immortality of the soul. And it utters the impossibility that Martin Luther had been able to wound the half of the foundation of the little horn head, which is the Sunday observance, because he himself is a Sunday keeper. But we know that the statement in track number 8, page 59, that the one to wound the beast, it is the message of the 11th hour. And then in 2SR 230 and 231, it says, what is the message? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18. Brothers and sisters, it says here in 2SR 230 and 231, what is the message? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18. And we know, all of us, the Davidian, understood that in 1888, the glimmering of the message of Revelation 18, although it is muffled because of their attitude of rejecting the message. But the fact is, the shepherd's rod is very clear that the leopard-like beast had been wounded in the Protestant period, 1798 onwards. What message to wound? It is the 11th hour message. What is the 11th hour message? Revelation 18. And it came in 1888, and this is the other half by which it was not wounded by Martin Luther, the Sunday observance. When it was introduced in 1888, the Sunday bill, brothers and sisters. Now let us read again here in the National Sunday Law. It says, this pamphlet is a report of an argument made upon the National Sunday Bill, introduced by Senator Blair in the 50th Congress. It is not, however, exactly the argument that was made before the Senate Committee, as there were so many interruptions in the course of my speech that it was impossible to make a connected argument upon a single point. By these questions, etc., my argument was not only forced to take a wider range that was intended when I began to speak, but I was prevented from making the definite argument that I designed to present. I do not speak of these interruptions and counter arguments by way of complaint, but only to explain why this pamphlet is issued. Nevertheless, it is a fact that while there were 18 speeches before mine, occupying 3 hours, in all of which together there were only 189 questions and counter-arguments by all the members of the committee who were present, I was interrupted by the chairman alone. 169 times in 90 minutes, as may be seen by the official report of the hearing, 50th Congress, Second Session, Messages and Documents, number 43, pages 73 to 102. A national Sunday law is a question of national interest. While it is true that the Sunday Rest Bill did not become a law, the legislation having died with the expiration of the 50th Congress. Then this historical event, brothers and sisters, without any doubt, that is the time by which the other half of the wounded head of the leopard-like beast had been wounded in 1888. The Sunday, concerning the Sunday Rest Bill that had been introduced in 1888. And we already explained, brothers and sisters, that according to the Bible, very plain in Revelation 13 verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now, the image of the beast is pointing to the bill that had been introduced. The mere fact that it says, had power to give life, indicates that it died. Because you will not give life to anything except it died, brothers and sisters. And that bill died in 1888. But the fact is, it was predicted beforehand that that predicted president of the United States of America, he will be the one to give life to that bill that died in 1888. But God revealed it through the beast revelation, how it will come, and how could we be able to prepare for it, brothers and sisters. And that is what the book of Revelation, the intention of God, to escape the oncoming destruction, because the Sunday movement is making its way in the darkness. According to volume 5, page 452, brothers and sisters. Take it thoroughly. You cannot see it apparently. Or in other words, brothers and sisters, I would like to say this thing. If the deception of Satan concerning the beast, the image, and the mark can be easily discerned by finite observation, then there is no need for God to waste His time to reveal to John concerning this vision, the beast revelation. The mere fact that the shepherd's rod says in tract number 12, page 27, page 28 rather, that God is at supreme pains in revealing this truth. How the old enemy determined to deceive the whole world shows that such deception, brothers and sisters, is, I remember the statement here in 2SR, page, let me read to you. B.T. Hotep says that 2SR page, that such deception, brothers and sisters, is page 95. It says, a spiritual deception has its beginning from a being other than human. Therefore, the scheme is so cunning that it cannot be discerned by finite observation. This kind of deception can only be recognized under the close scrutiny of the Holy Word of God and by the aid of His Spirit. I would like to read again the statement. It says, a spiritual deception has its beginning from a being other than human. Therefore, the scheme is so cunning that it cannot be discerned by finite observation. This kind of deception can only be recognized under the close scrutiny of the Holy Word of God and by the aid of His Spirit. 2SR page 95. So, brothers and sisters, my admonition is that we need to study closely the beast revelation, and we should not twist the meaning of its symbolization. Although, in reality, you will have a hard time to twist, but what you can only do is, you can evade, you can avoid, and then take it for granted, brothers and sisters. But it will never benefit any one of us unless we study the beast revelation in sincerity and in honesty and try to see it. What is God's intention of such revelation, of the beast revelation? But we already explained the intention of God is to reveal the true condition of the churches and to tell the fall of the church. Or, in other words, the intention of God is that to let the people know that those churches by which supposed to be God's ideal, they will be the one to be the channel of revelation to inform the people concerning Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary. But contrariwise, they became the instruments of the devil, so that such mediation of Christ in the heavenly sanctuary became obscured and canceled from the understanding of God's people. That is God's intention, brothers and sisters. So, hoping that you will continue listening this message, and because I tried my best that I could be able to explain the most important part of this revelation concerning the nondescript beast, the leopard-like beast, as well as the scarlet-colored beast. So, thank you very much, brethren, for listening and viewing this program. Hoping the good Lord will bless you and have a wonderful evening.